Why do I read?
I live in two worlds. One is a world of books.
For me, it's books, books, books.
The mind needs books like a sword needs a whetstone.
I guess people like to read about the things that they want most and experience the least.
Books feed me.
Once upon a time.
I read it in a book once.
Is this a kissing book?
I don't care. I'm not ashamed of my book.
It's not right for a woman to read. Soon she starts getting ideas and thinking.
I checked this out weeks ago, forbidden light reading.
You have never interested me more.
I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Now, when you read, don't just consider what the author thinks. Consider what you think.
I love that book.
I hated that book.
How can you read this? There's no pictures.
Don't read this book.
Those books are good. This might be the best book I've ever read.
I'm gonna go read.
Go ahead, read.
Why do I read?
I read because this world is dotted after me.
My apologies. As soon as I said 5 minutes, I spilled coffee everywhere.
Oh no!
Literally, so me of me.
You can hear me, right? You can hear my laugh.
I can hear you. I can hear you laughing.
Oh, shit. Did I close you? Oh.
Did you close me?
I closed.
You
I
could,
closed.
if you wanted to.
Oh.
This is going to be so weird listening to you through the headphones, just because I'm not used to having you in my, it feels like you're in my head.
If anything, it feels almost a little bit more natural because every time we talk on the phone, this is how I talk to you on the phone. So I'm just used to having you in my head, I guess. Did you get a drink or what are you doing tonight? Are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna do wine tonight because I already did coffee. I know, and it's early here. It's only 8:30 here, so.
Yay! We're actually like on top of things for once.
Oh yeah, I'm prepared. Well, my plan was to just switch from coffee to wine, but then I spilled the coffee, so I guess I'm so scared of like being a mouth breather on the podcast. Like
Okay, hold please.
Too heavily.
You guys, this is like the fourth time we've tried to record this episode because the other night we had technical difficulties,
that's why.
And for the first time we actually have like the proper equipment, like the mics and the stuff, because we were never prepared or had any podcast things because we were never actually planning on doing a podcast. Fun backstory, a little origin story for you. Lita and I were already doing our book club. We had already had the book picked out. We read it and we were going to Skype about it, like our normal plan. And literally like 2 hours before we were going to Skype together, Lita texts me and is like, well, I have kind of like an idea, like we could do like podcast style and maybe record it. And I was like, you mean like a podcast? And you're like, maybe, I don't know. So like we literally
I think too, like what I wanted to do was, I wasn't thinking that, oh my gosh, this is our opportunity to do a podcast. I was thinking, honestly, I was just thinking that we could record it that way and then we would have it for us.
Right, because that's very on brand for us.
Yeah,
because
we do stuff like that all the time because we're always like coming up with projects and ideas and we filming stuff.
Ever since we were 12 years old, we've done this and recorded.
Yes, when we were 12 years old, we recorded a radio show on a cassette tape and we still have it, and every once in a while we'll break it out and listen to it and just laugh our butts, and we're being little kids, you know. So we've been doing stuff like this for, oh my gosh,
and here we are 25 years later. Here we are.
25 years. See, yeah, Tiffany's the one that does the math.
Well, cheers.
Cheers,
Bookmates.
Cheers.
And fellow Bookmates, grab your wine or drink of choice, grab your books, grab your notes. We're digging in. We're digging into this. Okay, what's our book?
Iron Flame. The
Iron
second
Flame
book
by Rebecca Yarros.
Yes, the second book in the Imperium. What is this, a trilogy? What is she doing here?
No, this series, I think
Universe
it's a 5-book
series?
5-book
5!
series. That's what I've read.
Oh, Tiffany's
I
done some research.
weirdly, I like to read things. I drink and I know things. That's what my contribution. As always, spoiler alert, in effect, we will be discussing every single nook, cranny, breadcrumb about this book. So if
Oh,
you have
yes, and
not,
that includes anything that is triggering, anything that is sexual. We cuss on occasion.
just an
We
all
don't care.
around disclaimer.
We-
I'm nervous to talk. I've been so excited, like chomping at the bit. Like I have a lot of feelings, okay, but I'm also like really scared to talk about them. This is like the hard part because it drives me crazy to not talk to you.
I don't know if you liked it yet. Okay, so let's just like break the ice. Did you like the book?
No.
I liked the book, but I didn't love it.
It had just, well, the thing is, like, I liked parts of it. It just had so many
Yes.
problems. It just was honestly probably one of the most disappointed I've ever been reading a book because I was
Oh
so
my
excited.
gosh.
I was so excited for it, and I just have never felt more let down by a book.
Really? I
Yeah.
didn't feel that way. I mean, I enjoyed reading it. But I didn't love it. I'll never read it again. But I thought it was a decent read. I mean, I will say this about the book. How do I even say this? It took me an unreasonably long time to read it.
Me too.
Yeah, I couldn't just sit there and read it for a long stint. I kept having to walk away from it and come back to it. And I believe it's been a month since we read. Has it been a month since we read Fourth Wing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe more than even.
Well, I know I had a panic attack when I went to find the episode earlier today that we had recorded and it wasn't on there. And I was like, oh my gosh, did we forget to save it? Because I did. I forgot.
Well, I was like, I see us forgetting. So I downloaded it immediately. So that way that wouldn't happen. And I made
would
sure
say
it
like
worked.
for the pace that we go at reading, you and I, it
Oh,
took
yeah.
me a very long time to get through it. And it took me a long time to find the motivation to read it.
Me too. Same. I think for me, I mean, extenuating circumstances like work and everything, like summer's happening and kids are home from school, but I just kept being so frustrated by it that I just like sometimes would just like close it and be like, my brain hurts.
You obviously took more.
I have a lot of thoughts and feelings behind this book.
Okay.
Oh God.
I can't wait to hear if the stuff that I was annoyed with is the stuff that you were annoyed with. Like if we match up.
I'm very excited. Also maybe before we start, this might be a great time to say that I while I was reading the book, I made a drinking game for myself. Because
you did?
Yeah. I mean,
What
I
did you
obviously
do?
it was more of like a metaphorical drinking game because like when I was at work or like in the car, I couldn't actually drink, but I would always just say, drink, drink, because there is a lot of repetitive phrases in this book.
You did a drinking game without drinking?
I mean, when I was drinking while reading, I was doing it, but like just in general while I was reading, I was just every time I saw it, I'd be like, drink, drink, drink. So here's what I got. Drink every time we see the phrase, this man, gods, there's every chance, her archive doors, every time Violet is mad at Xaden.
Okay, well, you can't. That's not fair because she's mad at him for the entire book.
The entire book.
The entire thing.
The entire book.
And always, every time they work through something, she immediately is mad about something else. Immediately.
For me, Violet ruined this book for me.
Violet is whiny, petulant,
she's the most
immature,
insufferable character. It's like in like the first book, like she started out, you know, a little sassy and strong and determined, and whatever we started out loving about Violet is just like non-existent in this book, and she is just the most insufferable whiny brat.
Yeah, like when they were going in for the interrogation, I was so excited for Violet to get the crap beat out of her.
That was my favorite part of the book. That was my favorite part of the book. Are we getting to? Oh shit! I dropped my pages. So I said, like, Violet is the most insufferable cliche of a girlfriend. She's like how to lose a guy in 10 days, but he's a 10 and loves her anyway. Like, it's just.
Violet does not deserve Xaden. Not even a little bit.
I don't even understand why he loves her. Why do they even love each other? Because nothing. Okay, here's my biggest problem with the book. Rich source material, rich world, all the right ingredients, and just nothing is done with anything ever. Nothing is ever fleshed out, like character development, relationships, literally anything beyond the surface just does not happen. And I just kept wanting so much more.
I always thought, especially at the end, because the end is like bam, 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 you know, the action and those last like 4 chapters, I just pushed through so hard because it was just nothing but action. And I was craving so badly for another POV. Any other POV, any POV. I mean, we get Xaden for the last chapter.
Barely
it's
counts.
Like 3 pages.
It doesn't even count.
No, it doesn't count. It doesn't count. But I mean, seriously, I was looking for anybody. I mean, there's so much potential there. I mean, you've got Sorrengail, you've got Xaden, Taryn, Rhiannon, Justinia, Mira, Brennan, and Darna. There's so many
Riddick,
characters.
Sawyer, Dane,
yes.
even. Like,
Dane, yes. I wanted to hear more from Dane, and she could have just split it all up and it would have been amazing.
Right.
Because you're getting all these different, and you're getting to know those characters you want to know so badly.
Yeah. And even if we didn't get different POVs, just more engagement, more dialogue. There's so much filler in this book.
Oh my God, the filler. I totally agree about the filler.
Like, this book is almost 700 pages. Ask me what happened. Not a lot actually happens, but a lot of time is taking place.
There were some parts where I thought, this is nothing but filler. This is doing nothing for the story.
Like, it's not.
And the best example I can think of that is when they've already left Basgiath with all those writers, you know, when they go and they join the revolution and they want to start training those students, like get them back on their training, and they send them on that second parapet.
Yeah.
You know, since they couldn't do the parapet, that whole sequence was just filler. And it took up so much, a big chunk of the book. And you learn nothing happens.
Except for what's her name dying and like Kat having a whole thing about it. But also that whole journey being as dangerous as it was so unnecessary too, because why wasn't Xaden there? He just she always has him this whole book just flying off on some vague mission instead of being around, because his signet could also solve half of the problems that arise. Like, oh, she couldn't jump over the hole by herself to avoid the trap. Xaden could have just picked her up with his little shadows and carried her over, and the whole thing could have happened with zero drama.
with his little shadows.
With his little shadows. It could have been so easily avoidable.
I thought about that. That is the dumbest idea ever. That second parapet idea to like make the Griffin riders do a rite of passage so that everybody will respect them. Like, why are you so eager to get your cadets killed when you're in the middle of a war? Why put them in a situation with meaningless, dangerous tasks? It literally has no benefit to their training to have them do that.
Well, and they don't even say it's like an on-purpose parapet. It was like, we have to go up these cliffs to get to the other side. Like, that's the only way to get there. But then they're like, well, we'll just, we're not going to help in any way because this is basically another version of parapet and it was so stupid.
Yeah, it's like I said, it was a meaningless mission. It was a training mission that is unnecessarily dangerous and deadly.
Right. And okay.
Why?
So why is everyone treating the revolution like it's Basgiath 2.0? Like, wasn't that the whole point of not being there? And they're treating it like, oh, we're gonna go to class and we're gonna have like, it's just a stupid thing to waste time on these like Basgiath Goblet of Fire games with weekend getaway prizes with nothing to do when the Venom could attack literally any time.
They could show up to kill everyone.
But why are we
doing
this? Like when they're like,
and you're going on a dangerous task for a pass to go to town, or
why? Like we need to
Harry
go to Hogsmeade. Yeah, like we need to go to Hogsmeade. Like we have strategically placed a bunch of secret things for you to find in random caves, and you go find them. Like, why are we wasting time? Like, this is not Basgiath. This is the revolution. This is like, why are we still like having classes? Why are we doing this?
Well, my question is, how is that form of training helping them to prepare for war?
Exactly.
It's not.
We're getting ahead because this is like in the second half of the book. Let's talk about the first half of the book, because number one, for me, right out the gate, like one of the things I was the most excited about was to really dig into Brennan and their reunion, why he chose to leave, why he chose to not tell them. And there's
nothing there.
It's just the most disappointing, non-existent reunion it's like, oh, it's kind of weird to watch you eat. Like, that's the...
Well, like, I mean, they did have that conversation where he kind of goes into a little bit of detail, but you would think that was going to be a longer conversation.
But it didn't amount to anything other than because. Like, well,
no, he said it was the way that they were.
Right, but then she immediately points out, like, oh, so you just like left us behind to live the lie too. Like, what up, bro?
Well, I mean, they were children when he left. You have to think about that. Like, Violet was much younger. I mean, how long has it been? 6 years?
7 years. So she would have
7 years.
She would have been 13 or 14.
Yeah, so I mean, that's too young to take them with you. And Mira is only a few years older than Violet, so she wasn't old enough. I guess I understand that a little bit. And sometimes you got to when you're an adult, sometimes you got to just do what's best for you. You can't always think about, if he was a writer and he would have stayed, he wouldn't have been able to see them or be with them. He would have been doing what the Imperium wanted him to do. So it's not like by him staying, he could have helped them or done anything differently with them. He would have had to follow the rules and just like everybody else. And I think he wanted something different for himself and his career and what he was living for. He didn't want to do that anymore, and he couldn't talk to his mom about it.
Yeah.
Because what's she gonna say? No, you're not doing that. Like,
okay, and then like at the beginning of the book, she's just so teenager cringe about Xaden lying to her. But now she has to go and do the exact same thing herself and gives him like zero credit for that. Like, and also like you guys have been together for 5 minutes and you just expect immediate top security clearance for him to just divulge his deepest, darkest secret to you overnight. Like it's just so immature.
It's so insta love. That's what it is.
And I think I said this in the last episode, their whole relationship is insta love, and we don't actually get to see why they fell in love with each other. And then, okay, here is one thing that really frustrated me, because again, the opportunity for so much delving into of their relationship and them like getting to know each other better when they're like writing each other letters, and we never get to actually read the letters that Xaden sends to Violet. And she's all
how
saying,
come we can't? That's a great point. I didn't think about that, but why weren't the letters in there? That would have been
and
such a great
Mira,
addition.
it says that she writes Mira's letters or reads Mira's letters too, and we just kind of get like a snippet of her like recounting like, oh, well, he said in his letter how his father used to do this and blah, 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 and I just love getting to know him. I'm like, yeah, I would love getting to know him too. You are so lazy because she cannot actually write good dialogue or get into those like things, so everything important happens off page.
I wouldn't say everything important happens off page. A lot of important stuff happens around Violet.
No, I mean like as far as like the relationship dynamics go, like real like conversations.
This is one of my notes that I wrote. Is selective truths really lying? Doesn't everyone learn about each other during the relationship? No one tells everybody everything about themselves day one. Also, I feel like his quote, lies are necessary. First off, Violet can't shield, and the information he holds can literally kill a lot of people.
Exactly.
If they are found out due to Violet's inability to shield as a first year, it could mean death for so many people. Second off, including her brother, by the way, including a family member. Second off, he has an elevated position of rank, and sharing all of other people's secrets is not exactly appropriate just because they are dating. It's very immature on Violet's part to be so emotional and take all of this so personally.
100%. I wrote a variation of that, but yeah, 100%. The whole Violet and the trust thing, when there are so many other instances in this book where she is the one who keeps proving that she can't actually be trusted.
Not only that, can she not be trusted, she can't handle it.
Yeah.
She can't handle the responsibility. She's so emotional too. She's always having those giant outbursts with the lightning strikes, and she can't even control her own abilities.
Right? Like for example, like when she goes behind Xaden's back to sneak off to go see Takaris, right? And then wonders why Xaden doesn't fully trust her. And literally in that part of the book, we just established that he would risk everything for her safety. And then she just goes off to the most dangerous place that he's warned her about without telling him and sneaking off. Like, where's the trust in that, Violet? Like, you keep proving that he can't trust you. And then her response to this, and I quote, yeah, well, Xaden will forgive me as soon as he realizes we're back in the venom slaying business. I'm only doing it this way because he refuses to do what needs to be done in the name of protecting me. Translation, I'm only doing this because he's not giving me my way, and instead of just trusting him in his judgment because he actually knows so much more about what's going on, I'm going to ask forgiveness instead of permission and break his trust. Like, get over yourself, Violet.
Yeah, and he's telling her, don't do this, don't act like this with people that he knows. Like, he knows these people. He knows how you should be acting and how this should be going.
He has spent years laying the foundation for moving forward the most strategic way possible, and she goes and undoes it in a second, and she's such a double standard. And then later, page 511, she says, I'm pissed that you kept it from me, that you insist on making me ask for things that you should just openly share. Like, it is not up to you what people feel like they can and should share with you. I need full
But also,
disclosure.
they can't read your mind. They don't know. I mean, they don't know what you want to know about. That's why he says, ask me. And I'm an open book, ask me. And she's like,
yeah.
How'd you not have to ask?
Like, I shouldn't have to. You should just be like, okay, it all started when I was 10 years old and I buried the dog in the backyard and I said it fell off a parapet. And then again, page 517, she says, Surrey shoots a glare my way, obviously still angry that I've hidden my discovery for the past week. I'm definitely not winning any points in the trust department. For how much Violet demands trust, like she does nothing to earn it, and if anything validates why she shouldn't be trusted. Like, and also in that whole situation, I feel like Mira and Brennan should have known better than to go with her and been a voice of reason, be like, listen, Violet, like we get that you're in your feels, but like shut the fuck up and just stay put for a sec. Okay? Like
Well, here's the thing. I think that one of Violet's biggest issues is her pride and her arrogance. And the reason that that's even happening is because everyone around her that she cares about is never giving her tough enough love. They're never like telling her, hey, stop, like, or you need to be doing this, or you're not acting right.
yeah.
Like, it's like everybody around her is like a yes person. One of my favorite parts of the book is when she goes to that training session. He's training her, Felix, that's his name. Felix is training her, and he was an instructor, or he's her instructor. He's trying to help her train her magic through her signet.
Yeah.
And he just is getting in her face, being like, you don't know this basic stuff about your own ability, and we're all counting on you. Like, what have you been doing? And he's like, I guess like they didn't train you on this and this and that and the other, but you just think this is normal? Like, it's like she doesn't even practice. Like, she spends so much time doing all this other stuff.
Or being mad at Xaden.
Oh yeah, instead of like training her own signet. And
right, like you don't need supervision you could have just been training and practicing on your own. And for someone who has been trained as a scribe who's supposed to be super smart, and Taryn is constantly saying like, I chose you for your brilliance. She's so stupid.
Oh my god, Taryn is so funny. I love
Taryn is my favorite. Like I love how sassy he is. Okay, so
he really makes me laugh.
So one thing I want to, before I forget about the whole Violet and like her full disclosure trust thing, but we learn later that he's an intrinsic. So this is like where Rebecca's writing just falls apart because she doesn't remember what she's already.
Just call her Rebecca, like y'all are friends.
Okay,
Rebecca.
Rebecca.
How dare you, Rebecca?
Like it's like she's forgotten what she's already established, and then because she invalidates so much of her own writing with when she wants the shock value later of the twists, but when you think about it, it invalidates so much of the whole book's drama. Like, so we learned that Xaden is an intrinsic, right? So he can read thoughts, intentions, blah blah. So then it renders so much of the drama moot because he could have seen like what she would do if he told her about it, but then also what she would do when she found out that she lied to him about it.
See, that was really confusing to me, because I felt like how she built up that his second ability, it's not his new ability, he's had it all this time, but his second ability, I was confused because she makes references at some times about him reading people's thoughts, but then he tells her that he can't do that and that he can read people's intentions. And also, I don't I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just like not relating to Violet because she's a child.
No,
but
she's the worst.
She's the worst. So maybe I'm just like not relating to her, but I kind of don't see why that's a big deal.
Thank you. I thought the exact same thing. Exact same
because
thing.
here's the thing, like he's not really invading your privacy if he can't read your thoughts. But reading someone's intentions is basically like, okay, you're having good intentions towards me.
Right.
Like you can kind of feel their emotion, kind of like an empath in a way, but I don't feel like that is really a betrayal of trust.
It's not. It's not. And he tells her that until he like she was something to him and they like became, you know, what they were. I mean, in any other scenario, he should have killed her when he found her in the tree, right? Like think about why he did. Like we learned that he made the deal with her mom to keep her safe. Like before she even figured it out, I was like, this scene is just giving Twilight. Like I know what you are. You always know what people are thinking. You're always one step ahead. Say it out loud.
I didn't get that at all. But it totally makes sense though. Yeah, and he's like, you know what it is. Say it.
Out loud.
And it's all serious.
Vampire, I mean, intrinsic.
And she's like, oh God, not that.
Anything but that.
Okay,
And
well,
also,
obviously it's okay because he's also not insane. Okay.
Yeah, because he's also so strong that he was able to, instead of just immediately going insane and losing his mind, he was able to keep it under control, go off by himself, and he's learned to control this whole time. So not even the most trained to spot things like this have even a clue. And when you're in the role that he is, it's literally the most useful thing you could have. Why is she mad about it?
I don't know. Yeah, I know. And the thing is, and all of that anyway, all of those rules, all of those things that oh, you betrayed my trust, this is like the worst thing you could do, whatever, that's all related to the Codex, which you basically said, fuck you, Codex, fuck you, Basgiath and Navarre, I don't care, we're gonna go do our own thing, so why would you still give a shit about the Codex laws?
Right, like it.
Especially ones that will kill the love of your life.
Shut the fuck up. That was literally my mantra through this whole book. Like, just shut the fuck up, Violet. Shut the fuck up,
just sit down and shut up.
Just, honestly, like, she killed the book for me, and I'm like, I don't understand why the author had such a great opportunity for her to just be this like underdog badass. Like no one expected her to live through parapet, let alone get to the position she is now. So like she built her up, especially in the first book, of her just like, you know, going through this journey and fighting and becoming stronger, and she just completely alt deleted any progress she made in the first book. And this whole book is she's just a whiny brat.
Yeah, she is. She's terrible. Oh, and to go back about Violet not being able to keep information a secret, just in general, like she's terrible at keeping secrets, first of all. I mean, that's just like yeah, she's like the girl in high school that calls everybody when they say they're not going to tell anybody. Like she cannot keep her mouth shut.
100%.
But also, she's terrible at hiding her thoughts and feelings and emotions.
Yeah, she has zero poker face.
Yeah, like for an example, I wrote down her emotional reaction to the teacher during battle brief was stupid, dangerous, and irresponsible to risk the lives of all who rely on her to, and she can't even control her anger a little bit.
Right. Because she's like a petulant child in this book.
She can't control her anger, she can't control her signet, and she's supposed to be able to do that and shield all at the same time, and she can't even do those two things, and she still hasn't learned how to shield fully, especially against like Dane is a really powerful, he's a third year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's way more powerful than her, and his signet is related to the mind. So he's probably way stronger than the normal average person trying to break through your shields because of his signet. And you get your panties at a wad if the professor says something you don't like and you blow up the courtyard. Like, you can't even have normal interactions with people.
Right.
And then nobody even says that to her. They never even say, hey, Violet, maybe you should like practice your signet. Hey, Violet, maybe you should like try to keep your emotions more in check and not be so emotional. They say, okay, here's a conduit so that you don't have to work on yourself.
Yes, I thought that was so stupid.
And she cannot even see Zayn without getting mad at him. She's always mad at him. And he is so patient with her. He is so patient. And I mean, I really think that if she wasn't hot, he'd be like, ugh, get away from me.
Because that's her only two settings. She's either pissed at Zayden for no reason, or she's so horny for him that she can't even keep it in her pants.
Yeah, because it's all physical. It's
That's
not
what I mean.
a good
Like,
connection. They don't have a good connection.
No, because they're like, why are they even in love? Because when they're not fucking, they're just fighting, her not trusting her, her doubting him, and him constantly having to reassure her. Like, it's such a it's so way too write the most cliche woman thing. It's just way to set it back. Like,
I'm
why?
going to do a reference quote here. I have a reference quote because I'm not crazy, because even Violet recognizes that they're not a good match. On page 527, this is in Violet's head. I can't imagine walking away from this from us, but that doesn't mean that we don't have some serious issues that we need to discuss, nor that I am not pissed as hell that he's given me another reason to doubt my own ability to trust my own judgment. And because I can't imagine walking away doesn't mean I won't do it if we can't find some healthy ground. I'm quickly learning it's possible to love someone and not want to be with them at the same time. Even she says it. Oh, and also in the same sentence.
But she's the problem in there.
She's putting the responsibility on him.
Yeah.
For the way she feels about herself.
Yeah.
It says right here, nor that I am not pissed as hell that he's given me another reason to doubt my own ability to trust my own judgment. Like,
but he hasn't.
What?
But he hasn't.
But here's
and
the thing. Either way, that's not his responsibility. Like, the way that you feel about yourself, it's not Zayden's job or anyone's job to make you feel good about yourself.
Right? And she's constantly, like, he's explaining to her in a very rational, reasonable, logical way why he had to make the choice that he had to make. And her response isn't even to try to hear him out. It's just like, is he serious right now? Fuck him. Fuck him so bad.
It's so Legally Blonde.
Like, every time, and like, he's being perfectly reasonable. Like, listen to him for 5 seconds. And also, she's an army brat. Her mom is the fucking general. She, more than anyone else, should understand the need for secrecy and making sure that classified things stay classified. And she's just so butthurt that her brand new boyfriend of 5 minutes isn't being like, okay, this is like top security clearance level midnight over here. But hey, babe, guess what? Like, come on.
That's not realistic at all. And also, I also feel like she does not have, I mean, I feel she cares about Zayden. She has confidence in him, but she doesn't have respect for him.
Yes.
She does not respect him or his choices, or, you know, he is right there, like, treating her with baby gloves every fucking 2 seconds, and she has no respect for him. and what he's accomplished and what he's been through, which I'm sorry is way worse than your bone disorder or whatever you have. Like, he lost his entire family.
Right.
And had to basically come from nothing with no one to support him or be there for him. And went through a maiming incident by your mother.
And took responsibility for 107 other people.
Yeah, and takes responsibility for you on a daily basis. And puts you first always. And you can't even, like, have a conversation with him without bitching at him the entire frickin' time. And he's just sitting there, like, so patient. He's like, okay, you know. But he does clap back a couple of times. One of the things that I wrote down, I loved how at the beginning of the book, Xaden did not take Violet's shit at all. I feel like as the book went on, he just, almost like in an abusive relationship, he started being...
He kowtowed to her tantrums is what he did.
Yeah, he started, like, trying to change himself, kind of, to make her more comfortable towards the second half of the book. But at the first half of the book, he's not doing that so much. And he said on page 46, he said, we're both allowed to have boundaries. You're not the only one who gets to set rules in this relationship.
Yes, I clapped.
Thank you. Like,
thank you. And he's so right.
You know what? If you don't clap back at people when they're doing that to you and putting you down and saying things that you just don't agree with about yourself, it's healthy to say, hey, no, stop. Like, I'm not just going to be a pushover.
Yeah.
You're not just going to set all the rules.
Yeah, and boundaries are not the same as secrets. Like, there's a huge difference between lying and keeping secrets, and then also doing what he has. And even at one point in the book, I don't remember where it is, but she literally says to him during one of their fights, she's like, listen, like, I get that you can't tell me everything because that's the nature of what we do as writers. I just blah, 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 blah.
I just don't get it.
But I'm like, but that's all he's ever said. He's like, sometimes I'm just not going to be able to tell you anything because of this. And she's like, not good enough. Not good enough. She's like, I need full disclosure or nothing.
He's fucking saying okay to that. Like, he says all right to that like 10 times. And he's like, I'm an open book. Just ask me. And then she's like, well, you didn't tell me about this. And he said, you didn't ask me. And then she'll say, well, I should have to ask.
Like, he's supposed to, like, keep a journal and then hand it to you at the end of every day, be like, read everything that happened today, babe.
Well, also, but that's super toxic to tell someone they have to tell you everything about everything.
It is. And also, like, he's not even saying about his personal stuff. He's just saying, like, when it comes to writer stuff, revolution stuff, he's like, there's just going to be some things that I can't tell you. But
sometimes for your own safety and for everyone else's safety. Yes.
Because you still have to go back to Basgiath and be around Dane and be around all these other people, and they're already on, like, high alert and suspicious of things after this all happened. So, just fuck off. Also,
fuck off.
Can we also talk about, but Basgiath makes no sense for the world that it's in. Like, just the concept of it. Like, the way that they do things there make no sense. Like, they're desperate for writers. They're so undermanned, it's a concern. But everybody's just cool with them just, like, dying off or killing each other. Like, what the fuck? Like, even the parapet, gauntlet. Like, this is their military. This is their military college.
At some point, she does say something, or Violet says in her head, where she understands why they have to go through all these things because it's just a fraction of what they go through in battle, referencing Resin. But here's the thing. Like, she tried to say at one point or allude to the fact that this is necessary, but the thing is, it's not, though.
It's not. Okay,
just because Violet, like, says that doesn't mean that it's actually necessary. It's very
right, but there's also, like, you can train and do all the things, but have it not, like, not having one mistake cost your life. Like you could still do gauntlet, but have you heard of nets? Like you could like you're taking a bunch of 20-year-olds, throwing them into Hunger Games college and be like, "Here, do this incredibly dangerous gauntlet obstacle course the first time without failing, but except the one time you make a mistake, you die. No redos here. Like insert Mario dying right here. You did."
But no, because I think we brought this up in the last episode when we were talking about Fourth Wing, how it's just kind of crazy how they really need writers and like they're just dying all over the place. And it's so imperative and so many people die that the squad with the least amount of deaths from first years becomes an iron squad. And they're like held above all others, and only 5. Violet's squad is the iron squad, and only 5 people survived from the previous year, from the first year that she was
But
there.
this isn't even in battle. Like they don't even
But what I'm
have
saying
time.
is though, that's not a lot of students. Like they started out with a lot. So like that to me is like, okay, and that's the most. That means every other team, they only have 4 or less first years left.
Right. Like in the way, and I'm sorry, I really got angry when Rhiannon, but she's like, I think that this is maybe like really unnecessary. And when Violet defends the cruelty of Basgiath and the way that they do things, it really pissed me off. I want Violet to be mad that like there are bigger problems, and here we are literally letting ourselves die off in like the most easily avoidable ways, by like maybe guardrails on the parapet, nets under the gauntlet so they could actually train and hone their skills, or I don't know, not letting the kids murder each other left and right, and it's totally okay as long as it's not in their own squad.
Well, I mean, I almost wonder if some of those trials were invented by the dragon. The entire writing experience and a lot of those death-defying things are before the dragons choose their writers. And then they go on to do the training. And it's kind of like how we were talking about last time, how sometimes they just let the writers fall if they feel like it's a bad bond, so that they can break the bond before they've been bonded for too long. So maybe some of that stuff is something the dragons want them to do to prove that they're strong. And that's one thing I did think about the first time when I read Fourth Wing. I thought, well, maybe some of these ridiculously dangerous tasks are part of their alliance with the dragons, and the dragons are saying, I want them to cross the parapet. I want them to be strong. I want them to prove that they're warriors before we choose them.
The only way that this makes sense or is justifiable, but it's pretty clear that that's not the case, because also what we learned.
But you know, it could be the case though.
They would say it if it was the case, but also.
Well, I don't know, but I mean, like, wouldn't that make sense though?
I mean, it would make sense if this book made sense, but let's just okay, also pause, like, okay, and I think that this undercuts what you just said, because the writer survival course, like what is even the point of that? The RSC training, like what is the point of their training in that if they handicap everything they would normally use or need in that scenario in real life? Like they're not allowed to use their signets or any magic, and they handicap them, like, here, go do it. But like, wouldn't they want them to practice and hone their magics and signets and skills to utilize them in those real life dangerous situations? Like, make it make sense. Like, in here, let us actually torture you to see how well you hold up to torture. Most don't live past this phase.
Let's torture them.
So like, and that part has nothing to do with the dragons.
And if they do crack, we kill them.
Like, again, like this is supposed to be the military college, and they're basically trying to kill off everybody in the name of training. Like, what? This is the worst business model for a college that I've ever seen. Like, what? It makes no sense.
It's, you know what it kind of reminds me of is Dauntless. Dauntless from Divergent.
I never watched or read that.
You never read Divergent? They're really good books.
No,
they're very interesting.
I never did.
It's a interesting. I mean, I won't get off, but they're pretty good.
The misplaced Liam guilt was really obnoxious.
Oh my gosh, my head's exploding. Oh my gosh. You
Right?
feel that too. That's weird.
How does Sloane know what happened to Liam? Because right when she meets Violet, she says, I know what happened. You're the reason my brother's dead. Like, who told her? She wasn't there. Who told her? Why did they tell her? And for what point?
That's going to get around and then get back to her family. And then maybe she thinks... well, I mean, at one point, it's like somebody might tell their family something along the lines of, he died protecting Violet.
Right, but then, like, why would that, in my mind, and this is just me, why would that make her hate Violet? Because if she knew, and her and Liam were close, if she knew that Liam was willing to put himself in harm's way for Violet, you would think that she would respect it and also want to be loyal to the one that Liam deemed worthy of his sacrifice and like
because
team up with her.
Well, I think she probably doesn't think that Violet is worth that sacrifice. That was her brother.
But then that's right.
Like,
but then that's not trusting Liam's judgment.
Well, grief is not logical.
Well,
grief is emotional.
But the Liam guilt through the whole thing, like Liam made a choice to protect you. Like he made that choice. Like, do not take that away from him by being like, it's all my fault. The whole book, everything is her fault.
She does ease up on Violet when she finds out how Liam felt about her and looked at her.
That's true later, but it just rubbed me wrong.
I mean, a lot of people, when someone dies close to them, they get angry at the cause of that death, even if it wasn't intentional or malicious. It's just a reaction to, you're the reason. It's like when she looks at her, she says, okay, you're the reason my brother's not here. And he was like the best person to me. And so I understand that. And then also Violet is annoying. So why would she be worth his life?
Now you have me there.
On Liam, this is what I wrote about Liam. The only note I wrote about Liam, even though he's like a ghost there for her.
Yeah.
Or whatever that is. Ooh,
yeah.
Like,
just
like
take
with the
deep breaths
in the corner. I'm here for you, but I'm not because I'm a ghost.
Ebenezer.
Okay, on Liam, I know that it must be traumatic to watch a friend die in such a violent way, but I thought Xaden was Liam's lifelong friend. For some reason, the focus seems to be on Violet's sadness with Liam, and we don't hear how Xaden's dealing with it at all, and they are lifelong friends.
She never even asks him, like, how are you doing? How are you doing? Coping?
Yeah, and it's all me. Again, another reason why I hate her, because that has to hurt him.
I mean, how could it has to not? She just... Ugh.
I mean, they lived in the same house, right? They grew up together like brothers. They were so close, and it's all about Liam. I can't deal with this, Liam.
It's all my fault. If only Xaden hadn't wanted you to protect me instead of you, because he already loves me more. Here's another thing with, I'm gonna circle back to towards the beginning. Andarna. First of all, not enough Andarna in this book at all. She's barely in it.
Nope.
With her being a Feathertail, towards the beginning, they secretly get her to the Vale so that no one will see that she's grown. But Tairn knew that she was a babe and knew that she needed to peace out for the dreamless sleep. What was the plan here? She was just gonna be gone and no one was gonna wonder? Did that not factor into anything? And also, why did Tairn and Sigil never have a conversation with her and warn her hey, so listen, now that you're bonded to her, here's what's up. She's actually a baby, and here in a second she's gonna need to go peace out for the dreamless sleep for a few months, and there might be questions, and we're gonna have to kind of figure out together how to play this.
Well, I think that I think I remember reading something in the first book that Andarna can't be away from Violet for very long. Like, it's similar to her bond with Taryn, where Taryn doesn't like go for long distances away without her. He's always somewhere in the vicinity.
Right, but then she does, though. She does go away from Violet to do the dreamless sleeps. Like, that's not a factor.
Well, she has to.
Right.
She doesn't have a choice, and I think that's probably part of the reason why Feathertails aren't supposed to bond.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. But like, it's become.
But
like,
nobody
in
could
that part
tell
of the book,
Andarna. Nobody could tell Andarna that she couldn't bond because everyone that would be over her in hierarchy is no one because she's a purple dragon.
Right, which
she's the head of her family. So remember she says that at the end. She says, Taryn couldn't tell me that I couldn't bond with you.
Right, and I'm not saying that she couldn't bond. I just mean like the fact that they didn't come up, which she shouldn't have, but like why didn't they come up with a better plan? Because they all be like, we're in immediate danger if we can't get her to the Vale without anybody seeing. It's like,
well, I also don't
you knew this was coming.
Well, I don't think that, first of all, they didn't know it was coming at Ressin. They had no idea that was going to be
I meant that Taryn knew that the growing was going to be coming soon. Like, she wasn't going to look gold and little for very long.
But it wasn't going to come soon, remember? The reason that it came so soon was because Violet maxed out Andarna's signet.
That is true.
Elevated.
That is true.
Sped up her growth. And they were like, oh my gosh, we got to get to the Vale. Like, this is bad. Remember? Because he's like, we got to go. We got to get there now.
You're right. I forgot that.
Oh, they said an accelerated rate.
You're right. I forgot that.
Yeah. Because normally when you do that, it would kill the dragon. Wouldn't it?
Right.
Yeah. Or it would kill you and the dragon, I guess. It would kill both of you.
So in the beginning, when Xaden gets stationed down south and they're going to have to commute back and forth to see each other, it's a 8 to 12 hour flight both ways, right?
Yeah.
I was really hoping / excited to maybe hear Taryn and Violet talk. Get to know, like, you're in the air for 12 hours and you can mind speak with each other. And I was really hoping that's such a great way to take advantage of like them just having nothing to do but getting some talking out and like some exposition or some like lore dropping, some backstory, some history. And it's just like 12 hours later.
I wanted to hear from Xaden this book. I wanted a Xaden POV this book. And another POV I think Xaden and Taryn are the two that I craved the most. I wanted to be in their head. And then towards the end of the book, I was thinking about Sorrengail. Like, there's so much going on, and I know that a lot of this is like the stuff that's going on is towards the end of the book, but there's so much going on with Sorrengail and Xaden. They have a relationship too. And I want to know more about their relationship because Sorrengail is so mysterious to me. They don't ever really, because Sorrengail doesn't like anybody but Xaden. She's super mean and snappy and not nice to Violet. Like, she doesn't really care for Violet that much. She only tolerates her because of Taryn. You know, I really wanted to hear those thoughts that she was having about Violet and also to see what their relationship is like, Xaden and Sorrengail, because Sorrengail's a female dragon.
I know. I thought that too. And I was like, come on, give me more.
Yeah, and there was so much potential for that, especially this book, because they're separate for so long.
Exactly. And it would make sense to bring in more POVs because so much of it is separate.
Well, not just the POVs just because it's separate, but also because there's a lot of drama and stuff and action happening where Xaden is that's completely different environments than Violet, and there could have been such great contrast there. And also things that Xaden is doing the things that Violet is finding out too. Like they're cohesive. So like the one time that I was craving it the most was when Violet was in the interrogation chamber and she was cut off from her bond with Taryn.
Yes.
And I can imagine like the panic that Taryn starts to feel because this is like a new thing that they're not used to.
Yeah.
And she can't get to Taryn. And so I was like, oh my gosh, Xaden must be losing his mind right now because there's no way that Taryn didn't get either a message to him or Sorrengail, like something's wrong. I can't get to her. Like, and they can't find her. They can't contact with her or connect with her in any way. And he does all of this stuff to set up distracting everybody at Basgiath, all the teachers to like fly away from the school. And he does all this stuff with the wyvern to get to her. And he's so desperate to get there. And we don't get to feel or go through any of that with him.
Any of it. Yes. I thought the exact same thing.
It's just like smoke. And it's like, oh yeah, he obviously he showed up to save her and he saved her. But
I mean, like all the action is happening off page. Off page it happened.
Yeah.
I'm here now.
I mean, you could...
Here I come to save the day.
Well, I mean, like, you could have written a whole nother book with the amount of material that you had to go off of there.
There's so much rich
You could have a
ideas.
tandem book
like
that goes with it. That's 700 pages.
Yeah. It's like get rid of the filler and actually write the thing, write the characters, write the relationships, write the dynamics. We barely see Rhiannon, and they're supposed to be best friends.
Right?
We barely see her. We barely see
and
her.
they're
in the
fighting
book.
too.
But
she's like,
at least
I have to be. I have to be a hypocrite and do selective truce with everybody around me while I get mad at Xaden for doing it to me.
Exactly. I literally have that written down in the different words. Like, oh, I'm gonna go around doing the exact same thing that I'm being mad at Xaden for, and then when she finally caves because she can't take the pressure anymore. Go figure. He couldn't trust her with the secret. Tells her friends. They're super understanding.
Not only she tells her friends, she tells her entire squad. The entire squad. Not like just Rhiannon. The entire fucking squad. How many people is that? Like 8, 9?
And then she's like, okay, now don't be mad. And he's like, who knows? And she's like, well, Rhiannon and Riddick and Sawyer and Imogen
everybody
and
knows.
Quinn and like it's just the list goes on. And he's just like,
sorry. I'm so sorry, teehee. But you'll support me, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. But by the way, I'm still mad at you for doing that to me, but please don't be mad at me for like unloading all of your secrets to literally everyone. But when she does, they're like, yeah, that sucked that it doesn't feel good that you had to keep that from us, and I wish that you didn't feel like you had to do that. But we understand, and her immediate thought is like, oh shit, that is not how I reacted to Xaden at all. I'm actually still mad at him about that. She's such a piece of shit.
Maybe you're being, and like, she doesn't say that out loud, of course. She says it in her head, but she keeps like, oh yeah, well, I'm being kind of a hypocrite. She keeps that to herself. She doesn't say, hey, I guess I can't be mad at you for the same thing that you're mad at me for. Like,
I never thought about it that way.
Okay, let's talk about similarities, okay? Because there were so many, of course. Just
I know we did a whole thing in the first one. Okay, but Xaden is also the Wish version of Rhysand. I said it.
I like Xaden.
I like Xaden too, and I think that if he had been properly fleshed out,
my favorite. I like Xaden because he doesn't take any shit. That's why.
Right.
That's why I like Xaden.
No, don't get me wrong. I like Xaden, and I think if she had bothered fleshing anybody out more, he would have been like, "Oh my god, Xaden." But I'm like, we don't hardly know anything about him other than he's vaguely hot and has shadows and is good at going down on her. Like, that's all we know about him.
Yeah, he's pretty good at the finger situation, the finger death
I
punch.
did love it when the one time Violet was like, okay, get it, when she like got in Kat's face and she's like, oh, and that hand thing that you taught him, thanks. I was like, oh, okay, that was a pretty good burn.
I thought that was so Mean Girls. I was like,
the whole thing is Mean Girls.
So
like
dumb.
The cat stuff to me was so cringy. Like,
do you remember the Vampire Diaries when I literally thought this when I read that, when Caroline first becomes a vampire and she hits Damon and he flies across the hallway to the end of the hallway and then she like turns and she goes, you suck. That's immediately what I thought about. I was like, wow, where are we?
Like,
their whole drama was so YA.
Gross. It was so gross. And I really hated the
It was so
inclusion of,
high
like,
school.
It was so high school, and not even like realistic high school, just above and beyond catty. Like, oh, do you feel insecure because you know that you can't stand by him and he'd rather have me because I'm a real woman? And I know what he feels like inside of me, and like shit like that. It was so gross and cheesy.
I'd be like,
and
oh
cringy.
yeah, well, I've been with people too. It's so normal for people to have a history of sexual partners when you're past a certain age.
Right. Like, it's not, and also like, why is she even being this catty about it? Because she openly says, she's like, oh, I don't love him. Then what are we fighting about?
I know. Why are you being so passionate? Because you don't get to be queen of a non-existent kingdom,
and
it
that you're
doesn't
third
exist.
in line for.
It does not. It also is gone. It was destroyed with the rebellion. It doesn't exist anymore.
Like, the whole hierarchy isn't even a fucking thing anymore.
It's not even a thought. Like, and even she's like, wait a minute. Are you the king? Do you remember when Violet had that like moment and he's like, I guess, and he's such a normal guy, like, I guess, like, you could say
but
that,
I mean,
distantly.
Even if I did, like, I wouldn't want to do it. Like, it's someone else's
like, he's like
job.
He's like the Harry of the monarchy in England. Like, he's so far away.
Yeah,
from
he does not give a shit. And
so one of the things that I noticed was when they were doing it, like when he was like eating her out or whatever, and he was like, oh my god, I fucking love you so much, like that whole like area. I immediately thought about in Court of Frost and Starlight. I was like, that is exactly like the connection that he's able to open up for her, and like he fucks her inside of her head, like he fucks her in her mind.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So,
like,
and I was like, oh man, that is such a ripoff from that. So much that I was constantly like thinking about other fiction, other tropes. It was like, this book is like a wet dream for the biggest tropes.
It is.
They're all there.
This book is just the most. Yeah, it has some original parts, but mostly it's so derivative. It's like, oh, I liked it better the first time I saw it in Hunger Games. I liked it better the first time I saw it in Harry Potter. I liked it better the first time I saw it in ACOTAR. I liked it better the first time I saw it in Game of Thrones. Like, so.
Or when the venom popped out.
That was my note. That was my note. I was like,
I thought about the Bogart from Harry Potter. Immediately. I was like, oh, he jumped out of the wardrobe, just like, and it's something scary. Just like the Bogart. Is it Bogart or Bogart? No, maybe I'm thinking of Bogart. Like, no, it's not Bogart. I mean, I did think that was shocking. Like, I was not expecting the venom to pop out of the wardrobe.
Oh, really? I was.
No, I was not. I was like, man, what's going to be in there?
Venom in the cupboard. liked it better the first time I saw it in Game of Thrones with the White Walker. Like when they capture a White Walker and throw it in front of Cersei. Like right when I saw the box, I'm like, I bet one of those things is gonna pop out of it, just like it did in Game of Thrones. And Cersei's like, oh, what the fuck? I said everything that happens in this book is a copy-paste job from other books. It's so transparent and derivative that it makes it hard to enjoy at times.
Oh my gosh, you're such a savage. Sorry, Rebecca.
I can't help it. I am not the only one to think this. Like,
from what I've, when I never look at reviews.
I don't either, but
here's the thing. I usually do though after I'm done reading. Because that's when I start to, I don't want to read any spoilers. And I'm big on spoilers. I hate spoilers. So, but
same.
I love to read the reviews after and see what people thought and see if other people thought the same things as me. And from what I gathered when I was looking at some of the reviews, I feel like a lot of people don't like this book.
Oh, yeah. And with good reason. And the thing is, like, I, just like everybody else, was super excited for this book because, and I had issues with the first one, but overall, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And I was like, okay, that was like a first book. Like, there's going to be 5 more, kind of like ACOTAR. Like, the first one's good. And you're like, okay, give me more of that. And then the rest of them just like blow your mind. So I was like getting ready, gearing up. And like, this one is so big. I'm like, yes. Like, we're going to really get into the nitty gritty. Like, we're going to get into this and this and that and that and just sink my teeth into it. And it was just the biggest letdown.
Well, see, I try never to go into a book with any expectations.
Well, within reason, but I mean, like, obviously, you expected it to be...
Like, especially when I go into like a fantasy read, I'm always thinking what I don't want to see in a fantasy read is predictability.
This whole book was
predict, yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, if I can predict what's going to happen next, I'm bored.
Yeah.
I'm bored. I don't like it. Like, fix it. Do something about it. I feel like there's just so much right now in the fantasy genre. Like, people are so crazy about it right now that there's a lot of other people that are capitalizing on it. And I don't want to talk negatively about Rebecca Yarros because she's a very successful author. Not just from Fourth Wing, but she and I think you can probably see this in some of Fourth Wing's writing, is that she writes military romance, specifically military romance, and she's a military wife. And I think that in her writing, her battle scenes, the really exciting stuff is really enveloping. The last few chapters of the book, I just like plowed through. Yes, did I want more from it? Yes, did I want more POVs? Yes, but it was good action, and it was page turning. And for me, it was. I wanted to see certain
parts, though, like the last, torture
like, 6
scene.
Chapters. The last 6 chapters, I could not put the book down. I wanted to know what was going to happen. I couldn't walk away from it. But I think that she's really talented at writing battle scenes, and that's probably something that she has to do a lot in military-based books or fiction. So she's obviously honed her craft a little there.
You know, that's interesting that you say that, because one of the thoughts that I had throughout the book is that every time there was an action sequence, I had to reread it because it was so jumbled that I was like, wait, how does that work? Like, the way that she wrote it.
I didn't feel that way.
And
I wonder if maybe that was just in your head, because
maybe. And like, there were some times where I tandem read it with the audiobook, and when I was listening to it, I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I'm gonna need to reread this part because like it doesn't all click. There was a few fight scenes in between, like when they're on the cliffs and the wyvern are attacking. It felt like a mess to me. And I had to reread that sequence a couple of times to really most of
part.
And that's the thing, is like, when it's good, but the majority of the book was just insufferable filler. Like the chapters where
You're such a savage.
I can't help it. I only speak the truth.
You're so critical. Oh my god. But like I enjoy being I don't necessarily enjoy Violet, and I don't enjoy being in Violet's head, but I do enjoy the environment of Basgiath and the characters that you do get interactions with, and that's why it's so frustrating because I want so much more out of it.
Well, that's exactly what I'm
because I
saying.
like it.
Maybe this is bad that this was my favorite part of the book. Was when Violet was getting tortured, and I really thought that like while that was happening, not because I wanted her to be tortured.
I really enjoyed it when they came back and it had been a while since the torture started and her arm was in a different position than it's supposed to be. It was completely broken, like in half. That was my favorite part.
I didn't want Violet to be tortured, but for me, I said, finally, something is happening. Like, this is the event that's going to up the stakes, start a journey into better writing, put aside the petty drama, etc., because she's just been through this horrific, brutal torture. And it's the first time in this book where we've not seen Violet be like a whiny brat, and you actually want to root for her and see a glimpse of what made us originally like her in the first place. And I was like, yes, finally. Yes, I was like here for it, and I like couldn't put it down.
And she was even like, no, I don't want to be mended. Like, fuck yeah.
Like, I was like, yes. I was like, yes, finally, here it is. Okay, slow to start, rough start. Like, here we go. Like, yes, let's do it. Let's get it. Yes. And then, and also like that during that part, Dane not sucking for once.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, we got to do a whole thing about Dane because
we'll get to Dane.
Dane is next.
Hold please for Dane.
I have a whole page on Dane.
That part was so satisfying, and then she finally earns her violence nickname. Is like, yeah, she does want the honor, and she fucking stabs him, and I was like, yes. I was so pumped during that scene and during that time, and then afterwards. Just
nothing.
Business as usual. Like, let's go fuck really hard in the shower. Like,
no, I would say after that she's even worse. She's more likable before. For them going back to Basgiath after Ressin and not staying with the revolution is the dumbest thing ever. Like, yeah, so they brought all those writers over, whatever, when they went back, but I think that is such a dumb idea. I would have been like, yep, well, I guess this is what we're doing now. And they were like, what? And she was like, you know, we have to go back. And he was like, yeah, I know. And I was like, fuck that. I would not go back. They just tried to kill all of you. And by the way, there are pluses to the fact that they went back, but half of the people that went to Ressin were murdered. Because they went back.
Literally, because they
were killed by Varish.
When they were clearly being targeted one by one, then it's like, okay, we tried. We got to peace out now. We need to slip off into the night and just like why they're like, okay, we're clearly being targeted specifically because of Ressin. Oh, also, and plot holes left and right, and
you're
just
about to blow up. Your face is like you're like, oh, I have more.
And I will say,
oh my god, with that marker and that lid right now is like, you're like, oh my god, my face is getting redder and my marker is getting more markery.
Flames. I feel like my feelings a little bit extra because I've been holding on to them so long. Because this is what happens when Lita and I can't talk to each other. Like, it just builds up, and now I'm like a volcano of feelings. So maybe it comes off a little bit more intense.
This is not rehearsed. We have not talked about any of this.
We specifically have not spoken about the book. Like, we cut ourselves off. But the thing is, we're used to tandem reading books, and we discuss them as we go. So like, not talking about them is just making me like have an ulcer every time because I'm just like exploding. Captain Atos, Dane's dad, like blatantly threatening them, and we never see comeuppance for him for that. Like, he's sent many assassins after her, and he's basically admitted to her face that like he knows what's up. He's gonna try to kill her. Watch your back. Multiple failed assassinations attempts, and all like the worst that he gets is a slap on the wrist from Mama Sorrengail, like you have to go have the shitty duty over there. And he's like,
oh yeah, and
fine.
not only that, let's replace him with his BFF Varish that has no reason to hate any of them, but
Yes,
somehow
thank
hates
you.
all of them.
Thank you. I was like, why does he have such a hate on for Violet for no reason?
Enough
For no
to
reason.
And
sorry.
Xaden and Violet are the most powerful signets in Basgiath. Like,
don't
obviously,
pick a fight with them.
Yeah, well, not only don't pick a fight with them, why would you want to? You're gonna need them.
Right?
You need them.
This is what I mean about Basgiath not making sense, is like they treat each other like they're enemies when they're literally on the same team trying to fight a common enemy and then doing nothing to establish trust or camaraderie among their own people.
They're so powerful, they could graduate early. They could be pulled out of school to fight in the war. I mean, they even say in Fourth Wing, the first book, that it is not uncommon for students with powerful signets to be taken out of school
and do
like second or third year if it's necessary. And so like obviously these are people that you're going to want and need on your side. Why would you want to kill them? Especially if you know about the venom. Especially if you know about that.
So that
like wouldn't you want them protecting you? Like
this is what I
want
mean.
them being
It makes less sense the more you know, because it falls apart on itself. Like the reasoning isn't there. Okay.
Well, I think that one thing I tried to remember is that this is Rebecca Yarros's first fantasy
and you can
series. Tell. It's true. I mean, it's a little choppy, okay, but
a little.
It's a bestseller. These books are bestsellers, though. You've got to give her the credit that she switches genres after writing 20 books or more. I don't know if she's written, I know she's written at least 20 romance, and then she switches to fantasy, and it's all the tropes from all the books.
Okay, I will say, okay, like I say that this is like one of those things that is not going to be duplicated, and like good job for figuring it out first. What she did was like, these books make a lot of money, and then she copied and pasted every single thing from other books. And now in book 2 everybody is like, you got to do better than that.
Like I wish I knew one thing that I enjoy. One thing that I really enjoy in the story is the stuff with the scribes. Like I really liked when they went down there. I loved to get the journals, and I loved all the stuff with Justinia. And I think it's interesting that she's she's deaf and they have to sign, and everybody knows sign language, which is really cool.
I love that.
And it's one of the quotes that Violet just repeats that Xaden had said to her, something that sticks with her, and it's on page 14, so it's very early in the book. But I thought this was a pretty powerful idea. And my note is, it's the scribes that hold all the power. Changing history by changing the written words and implementing those changes into the educational system over several decades is a real possibility in any society, and that knowledge is power.
100%.
And I think that's a really interesting part of Fourth Wing, is that all these things have always existed, but it's the way that they have systematically basically changed history, and how easy it would be to do that over a period of just a few decades.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an interesting concept. That's kind of like a dystopian kind of theme, kind of like in The Thick and the Lean, where they can just change what's real. They can change reality just by having control over the education of young children and the things that people can read. By taking those things away, you can then give them what
book
you want
bans.
them.
Hello, book bans.
Right. Oh yes, book banning. Yes, it's very like cohesive with
It's
that.
a slippery,
So
it's a slippery slope from there. No,
there
there
were
were
some things in the
definitely.
book like that that I really enjoyed, and I was like, yeah, well,
So
that's
so
really
don't.
true, and that probably has happened in our history, and we don't even know it.
Oh, probably. And here's the thing, and I want to be clear because I know that I can be I can be a little bit come off as harsh, and I'm not trying to
You're
like
so aggressive.
I'm not trying to ick anybody's yum, but um the place that I'm coming from is that I like it so much that I'm frustrated at the lack of fulfillment on my end because I'm like it's so close to being so good and then it just misses the landing and it just like it could have been so much better than it was because it had all the right ingredients there and I feel like she didn't really actually realize how to cook with all of them yet because she's still, like you said, finding her feet in the fantasy genre, that she bit off maybe a little bit more that she could chew because a lot of these things should have been fleshed out like at all or over time and everything just kind of there's too much going on and not enough at the same time. And so like finding the balance of like telling the story, really getting and I'm also like we've talked about this so many times. We're both kind of this way where I'm huge on character development and like those really like insightful moments, those dialogue moments that really make you understand where people are coming from. I wrote, we've lost whatever magic and momentum that the first one, even with its issues, gave. Like it was, you could overlook it because you're like, this is fun. I like this. I like being here. But all of the things and relationships that we got invested in and came for are just absent from this book.
I agree with that. I definitely agree. The magic was gone. And I think actually, I hate to say this because it's such an insult, but this book kind of put me in a reading slump.
Me too. Me too. We both
Yeah.
struggled through it.
Yeah. It took me a month to read this book. And it
You
was all over the place.
Did you listen to the audiobook at all?
A little bit towards the beginning.
Did you hear her voice for Taryn? I could never take it serious. Her voice for
Yes,
male voices
I did.
Silver one. Like, such bad.
Oh my God, there's this guy on TikTok,
He's so
and
bad.
he's the guy that does the voice of Taryn in the trailer I made.
Oh, uh-huh.
Okay, he even does that growl. Like, how are you even doing that? How do you make that noise? Like with your throat, like it's like
It's like
what we were
that.
doing last time. It's like, but it's like a guttural growl. The
Guttural.
guy did that on me, on my neck.
Oh my God.
Stop. It'd be
Like
over.
this is why the romance writers are like a low growl thundered in his throat. It's like that's the sound. That's what it is. How did
That's
it's
the sound.
that it's
Okay,
because
all
they
right.
have that Adam's apple to like.
Okay, we're gonna do a pause right here so
Okay.
that I can edit in the sound so you guys can hear it.
Humans have no say in the law of dragons.
How sexy is that? Also, A, but B, silver one.
Silver one. Now that nickname I like.
I like silver one.
Because it makes sense.
I like
and
violence.
I hate it. Okay. I should have said this last time, but can everybody weigh in on their thoughts? Team violence, team cringe. Where do you guys land?
Nobody's team Violet, Tiffany.
No.
Nobody
No.
likes her.
No. Where does everybody land on the nickname? Like, are they pro violence
Oh.
or are they like, is violence cringe? Do you like violence?
Nobody likes her, Tiffany. No one likes her.
Or is it cringe? Like, let us give us the feedback.
Yes.
Like, we need to solve this. Like, the poll
because
is
we're
out.
totally we're split down the middle on this, right? Like,
I
love it.
I loathe it, hate it. It never landed for me, not once. And that's the beauty of book club, everybody.
I love that we just like don't even care if our opinions differ. It's just like completely fine.
Because that's how it should be, and as it will be with all of you, We respect your opinions, and you're all welcome here, and so are your
Yeah,
opinions.
and
Let us know.
you know what? Maybe you guys loved it.
Here's another question that I had as I was reading it. Their gods, like Zinal, Dune, Amari, like they're constantly referencing their gods or whatever. And then Taryn's all like, dragons pay no heed to our gods. And then it's like, okay, but like why but like why do you though? Like the gods are also not fleshed out or built at all, and their religion is never really explained or delved into, but everything is like gods, the gods, the gods, like they're constantly referencing
I'd like to
the
know a little
gods.
bit more about Malik.
Right, like Malik's another one. But and it's such a cultural thing that everybody is just like spouting off, and like we know next to nothing about their ideology or religion. We just hear them name random gods, like, oh, that's the god of
Yeah.
death or the god of war or the god of
Also,
being horny. I don't know.
something that I noted along those lines about mentioning just random shit.
Yeah.
Is that in something that's different from the first book for me, in the first book, I really enjoyed those tidbits at the top of the chapter that tell you just a little bit about the lore, about the world. You know, they don't have to be cohesive with the story. They're just like things to give you information, and you've got one for
clever
sure at the
ways.
top of each chapter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I really appreciated that about the first book, but this note about it for Iron Flame, and I'm just gonna read it straight because I wrote it perfectly, I'm sure.
You're
Tiffany and I are both quite the writers.
you're a scholar.
Quotes, a gentleman and a scholar.
You're a gentleman and a scholar.
Of course, my goodman. Okay,
the gentleman.
Gentlemen. Love you.
I love you.
You're my favorite.
You're my favorite.
Okay, so I wrote the quotes above each chapter are a clever way of relaying lore and information relative to the story. However, I feel like on occasion she gives away twists as the information is sometimes imperative to the chapter. I think that she should try to keep what is going to happen a better secret in order to build surprises. You know, it's almost like she gives it away. Like, for an example, on page 241, menders are not healers. Healers are bound to the code of Crichton. Is that how you pronounce that? I think it's Crichton. Yeah. Sworn to aid all in time of need and never to harm a beating heart. Menders are writers. They're only sworn to the codex. They can easily bring harm as well as heal. And for me, this is what I wrote, this is a dead giveaway about the only mender in the story. The only mender in the entire universe that we have met at this point is Violet's, wouldn't want to call her companion, the mender for Violet, the one that she's known her whole life.
Nolan.
That works with her mother. Nolan, yes. Nolan,
but also
the mender.
But also Brennan. Brennan is a mender too.
Is he a mender or a healer?
He's a mender because
he's a writer, so he's a mender. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
they bring
what I'm saying,
Violet
yeah, okay. So, obviously, it's not going to be Brennan betraying Violet. So, I mean, that leaves the only other frickin' mender that we know of or have ever met, which is this guy. So, automatically, before the chapter started, I said, okay, so something is weird and off about that guy, and he's going to do something fucked up. Instead of it being a surprise, like, oh my gosh, this is the guy that's been helping her. I was thinking immediately, it immediately took me. So it's almost like this information. She should have put it at the top of the chapter after that happened.
Yeah.
So that if you had any questions about a mender having to conduct themselves in a certain form of morality, you would then learn, okay, well, I guess this is something I didn't know about before. What a shocker. Instead, I was expecting it. I was fully expecting it. I predicted it.
Same.
Immediately after reading that. And I think that that is something that obviously she did not pick up on in her writing. And that's unfortunate.
Or an editor.
Because I think, yeah, well, I think that it really, yeah, an editor too. What the hell? Because I really think that it could have been more exciting if I wasn't expecting that.
And it would have hit deeper because, like, that was like one of the very few people that she trusted, like, in general.
Well, this was just an example. She does this a lot in front of her chapters. Like, she puts information that gives away what's about to happen in the story.
Also, speaking of that, this is another thing that she does a lot, that I wrote down. Hang on. She does, I noticed this in the Fourth Wing, but in this book too. She will end a chapter on like a little cliffhanger or like a moment, like an OMG moment, and something big that we want to see, and you're like, oh snap, it's coming now. And then not deliver on it at all. Like, we never get to see the immediate aftermath of a chapter cliffhanger. It's like, boom, plot thing. And then it's like 1 week later. All the time.
Yeah. Oh my God. Or like her and Xaden will be in a fight and they'll end the chapter on some big piece of information. And then the next start of the chapter will be like, okay, well, a week's gone by since I've seen Xaden.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you've built the momentum, like, we're here, we're ready. And this is what I mean, like, everything happens off page. Like, we finished that fight off page, and then he had to leave.
No, you're right. I see it now. I see what you were saying there. Because before I was like, I'm not seeing what she is, but
like,
no,
things like that.
I see what you're saying then. Like, yeah, there was big time jumps. Actually, it gave me like the thick and the lean PTSD a little bit.
Right? Totally.
Where I was like, ugh. Like, you're taking away those moments that I want to see. You're taking them from me.
And you're doing so good. Like, you've built it, and I'm here. I'm ready. Like, let's dive into it. Like, let's go.
I'm almost interested to read some of her romance and see how it's written.
I don't know if I could stomach it.
I could definitely stomach it. Oh, yeah.
What I mean is, like, you pointed out earlier that she writes a lot of military romances. I actually just personally hate military-themed anything. Like, it's one thing if it's, like, part of the cohesive story, like in, like, Game of Thrones or like this book where it's, like, it's strategic. But, like those... I'm not into it. I'm not into the military thing, the army thing. Like... I just am not interested in it. I don't like the dynamics of it. Like, it's just never landed good for me, and I'm always just kind of eye-rolling the military army trope. I just don't like it. That's just like, and that's just me. Like,
I haven't
there could
really...
be exceptions to this rule, but like, I just
well, I'll admit to you, I haven't ever really read a military romance, I don't think. I think the closest thing I ever got to it was a Nightingale.
Okay, but that's different. Number one, because it's not like a cheesy, smutty thing. It's like based in like real, like it's a drama. It's very intense. Like, I like war movies or where it's meant to be intense, but like when it's like cheesy or like Nicholas Sparksy.
Okay, so I will say that when it comes to romance novels in general, 95% of the time, I do not enjoy anything contemporary.
Same.
I always go for, like, if I want to read romance, I go for a historical romance of some kind.
Yes,
I go
me too.
for, I like the medieval, I like the Regency, I like, I'll even read like weird fucked up sci-fi romance, but I usually do not enjoy contemporary romance if it's a romance book.
There's exceptions to the
Mostly
rule.
because Yeah, of course.
It's
but
too
I
it's too
want to
cheesy and
be.
not separated enough from real life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I you know where I tend to like hate it is just their dialogue a lot of times in those books is so
Yeah.
cringy.
It's so cringy. Like, and I'm like, I will give a contemporary a good chance if it's well written. But that's usually the problem with contemporaries is that I find the characters so annoying, and I'm like, no one would ever say that. Ew. Okay, so here's a good example of a contemporary kind of romance that was really good that we both read for our previous book club. Was that Too Good to Be True? That was so good.
Oh, that book was awesome. I like that book. I
It
forget
was
the author. We
really
probably need to mention that.
Carol
Oh,
Lovering,
Levering?
Lovering.
Oh, it's Carol Lovering.
Carol Lovering. Yeah, that book was really good, and it was modern, and it had like the Instagram thing.
Well,
And
see, though, that didn't really feel like a romance. That felt like a thriller or like a mystery.
But that's why it worked, because it was both.
See, but that's what I mean, though. I like contemporary fiction or contemporary mystery, contemporary, those kinds of things. But and when it comes to romance, it gets really cheesy when it's contemporary
But
for some reason for me.
Isn't that book considered a romance, though? Or is it considered a Too Good to Be True? Isn't that considered a romance?
I wouldn't consider that to be a romance. I would consider that to be like a suspense, like romance, like thriller. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's just a romance. No. They don't even really. I mean, there's just a lot going on in that book. That is a really excellent book, guys. Too Good to Be True by Carol Lovering. And it was just, I won't say anything more other than it was a great book.
It's so good. And
about
I
good
usually
characters.
Very good. It's the timelines and the way that it switches POVs. It's very good and drops you with a good twist. And I'll be honest, when you picked that book for our book club, I was not thrilled about it.
I did not pick that book.
Yeah, you did.
No, I did not. That was Denise's pick. Denise picked that book.
Oh, okay.
That was for Charmed Ones. That was her pick, and she knocked it out of the park because that book was
right. Awesome. Okay, and I remember like being like, eye roll. I was like, this is just gonna be one of those run of the mill, like even like the title's like, what a cliche, too good to be true, and it was really good. I like ate my humble pie on that one because it was like, okay,
it was excellent. That book was good.
And this just proves that I can go into a book not expecting to like it, and I'm totally willing to like be wrong and like be willing to be swept off my feet.
Also, that was a debut novel.
Yeah. It was very impressive.
So that was because my present that year for Denise for Christmas was
Denise is my sister, by the way, you guys. For those of you who don't know,
Denise is Tiffany's sister, and we all grew up together. And
for 5 minutes, we the three of us did. Denise isn't as much of a reader just because she doesn't have time, but for a while there, we made it work, and we had our summer of.
She told me for her New Year's resolution, Denise did, that she wanted to read more, so I got her a book of the month subscription because I do that book of the month. And they have a lot of debut authors on there, and they're nice hardcover books. They're cheap. I love book of the month because you cannot find a brand new book that has just been released, sometimes early release through them, by the way, that is hardcover and $10. I mean, if there's a book that's just coming out right now, that's like $30 at Barnes and Noble. Like, you are not getting that book discounted if it's brand new. You just won't be able to find it anywhere for that price. So I kind of keep it around, and you can skip or whatever. But she picked that book because it was on Book of the Month, and they do a lot of debut authors, and we loved it. All three of us loved it. So I would just like to say really quick that Denise is an honorary book club member and will be appearing whenever she pleases or doesn't please. And
hint,
I will
hint,
also
nudge, nudge.
but also if she doesn't, I totally understand, because when Tiffany said that she is too busy to read, she is too
She really is
busy
too
to
busy.
read. She's like, might as well be the head of a corporation. She's so busy. Like, just, she jet sets all over working, and she's just got a lot on her plate. So she literally
She has
doesn't
valid,
usually have any time.
but she texted me today, and she's almost done with ACOTAR.
I saw that. I read the text. I know I don't always read everything, but
no, that was yesterday.
Denise is reading.
She's reading
A
it.
Court of Thorns and Roses.
We've been after her for years. We got another one.
Oh yes. But like we said, she doesn't really always have time. So she's reading it, and I think we're trying to get her onto an audiobook thing because she has way more time commuting.
Yeah. Well, not always, because she works from home, but she was on a business trip to Australia, and that's like 30 hours of travel time. So I was like,
that's what I mean. Like,
this
she
is my
flies
moment.
a lot. I mean, you always have downtime in the airport that you're just sitting around doing nothing, you know?
So I feel like if I could sell her on the graphic audio, like, this is my moment. Like, if I'm ever going to get her to listen or read it, like, I'm like, you have no excuse. Like, you've got 30 hours in the air.
So she might be appearing for our ACOTAR journey when we head into that, and we're not going to do that for a while. That's way down the road. Yeah, but like, Denise reserves the rights to come at any moment, and she is equal as important as either of us.
As do other bookmates. We would love other bookmates.
And just so you know, if you didn't know, which none of you do, our book club before this one was the three of us, and it was the Charmed Ones book club because we are the Charmed Ones. And when we were little, we used to pretend to be in Charmed, the TV show, and we would pretend to be witches. And I was Prue.
I was Piper.
Yes, I was Prue. And Denise was Phoebe, and she's the youngest. And
she is Phoebe. She's such a Phoebe too.
So, like, when she does come, we're going to have to call it Charmed Ones, Special Edition Charms Ones Book Club episode or something.
Charmed Ones edition.
Because we are the Charmed Ones. And if it wasn't official enough already, we also all have tattoos in the same spot.
We do.
Of a charmed sign.
This is true.
Yes. Yes. We're a fish.
We're a fish.
Besties for life. So, look for Denise.
The power of 3.
She will be coming. She will be appearing at one point. Airplane. Let's see here.
You know what's hilarious? We've been talking for 3 hours, and
we have not been talking for 3 hours.
We've been talking for 3 hours.
Oh my god!
And I still have a decent amount left to talk about. Well, I know we kind of talked about Andarna and like her being a baby and like all the things that go along with that. But early on, I was really confused. I was like, I do not understand Violet being punished for Andarna not being around. Like, clearly no one has ever bonded 2 dragons, and Taryn is there as her primary, so like, what's the problem? Like,
I think it was just an excuse for him to fuck with her.
Right, but why though? Like, we never get his motivation for like why he's so hardcore about her. Oh, which brings me,
just because I never thought about that. Just because that they're besties, like Varish and Colonel Atos. Just because they're besties, that's not a good enough reason for him to be that malicious. Like, why is he being that way?
Why? Like, there's no motivation or reason. We never find out why, other than because
he just wants to fuck with them. Yeah,
right.
Like, it just doesn't. You're like, right. They never shine a light on why he's so intense about it.
Because he obviously, or well, it would appear obvious that like, because even in their first meeting, he's very menacing, and you're already like, oh, he's gonna be trouble. But why? And then, yeah, he becomes kind of the villain throughout, and then the whole torture thing. But we never know why he's so hardcore about it. Like,
right, and the excuse cannot be the bro code. That's a stupid reason.
Because he also doesn't know. He's trying, like, he's like, I know that you've got a secret hidden and I'm gonna figure it out. But like, Atos never told him, so like, he doesn't actually know.
Well, how do we know that? Well, obviously that they're close, him and Atos.
Right, but if he knew what Atos knew, he'd just arrest her or kill her. Like whatever, and that's
Right,
why
he can't just.
But that's
But he
why
can't
he
just
tortures her.
arrest. No, he can't just arrest or fucking kill outright all the students in the Iron Squad or kill General Sorrengail's daughter out in the open like it's so fucking normal. Like,
Right.
he's got to be systematic about it. But the thing for me is that I don't understand about it is that Colonel Atos, obviously they're in league in some way. And obviously he knows about the venom in the wyvern and that they need to keep it a secret. So, but like, why is he so aggressive? Because if the reason is just that they survived and they know about the wyvern, like, they're obviously not telling anyone, and maybe kill them to keep them quiet. But wouldn't everybody in leadership then know about that probably?
Right, but then also they've made it clear when they show up back to Basgiath that they're not like shouting from the rooftop, guess what, everybody, the wyvern are real, and there's these things called venom. So like they establish like we're not saying anything about this, so why are they treating them like they're a, I don't know, it falls apart a little bit there. We talk about her mom for a second.
Let's talk about her mom, who's dead.
When she's finally being confronted by Violet with all these things, her mom's logic of sending her to the Riders Quadrant to keep her safe makes about as much sense as a screen door on a submarine. Like, I said she'd figure it out as a scribe, and then maybe they would kill her, even though we learned that Markham has specifically been grooming her to take over and to inherit the secret. So that was always the plan. But the Riders Quadrant's literally the most dangerous place to be in Basgiath, even for those who are trained and seasoned to go into it, with people having every reason to target her, not to mention the physical challenges that she is in no way prepared of handling or is capable of when we meet her. But sending her for safety, like, that's a joke. Like, and then she also risks everything by just trusting Xaden when, like, Xaden has no reason to. And
also,
then, but then
when
later,
she gave him all of those scars and.
Right, and then I amended this note. I was like, later, then we find out about their deal. It makes even less sense to send her there because Xaden could just like make the deal, say it, and then just be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna take my. And then let's just say he even did what he did and goes out of his way to protect her. Xaden has no control over what other people do in the Riders Quadrant, and since he's a second year, he's gone half of the time, unable to protect her. Like, she was lucky to make it over the parapet day one, and Xaden could not help her with that. Like,
well, I guess we know where Violet gets her. We know where Violet gets her logic skills from.
Right? Or like the constant assassination attempts. Like Xaden can't help her with Gauntlet. Like, he can't help her, like, on the mat. Like, and that's why she has to resort to poisoning people. Don't even get me started. And then Xaden, there's so many aspects of Basgiath that, like, they're not allowed to interfere with. So
yeah, that's not a good enough explanation.
It makes
I see where you're coming from there.
And she's like, I did it to keep you safe. It was the only way because you would have figured it out because you're so smart. It's like, okay, Anne, but like I was literally being groomed for that exact position. And then all of a sudden you are like, no, you're going to go do the writer thing, even though like that was like almost an instant death sentence. But then she defied the odds by like overcoming all these things. And then all that buildup of her like growing and achieving all of these things that no one thought she could, to just become a whiny bitch about everything. Like, spending most of her life reading books and preparing that as her like life course to be like, oh, by the way, tomorrow you're gonna go do the parapet, and you've had like no prep time, no time to train, when others train years of their lives to do the
get to this point,
the Riders Quadrant, and her mom throws her into that situation to keep her safe. Like, that makes literally no sense.
No,
At
I
all.
completely agree with you. I think the stuff with her mom is really sloppy.
It is. Well, and then in the end, when she's sacrificing herself, she's basically like, "You're everything that we dreamed you would be," and having all
Oh
these
my
like,
God. And didn't that give the Wardstone thing with her mom dying? That reminded me a lot of A Court of Wings and Fury when
of Wings and Room when
gave
they
his
have to.
energy in.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Fixing
into
the cauldron. There
And
it is.
also another thing that I wrote down, another similarity, when they say that Xaden has 107 like scars on his back, that made me think about Jamie Fraser from Outlander.
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh, it's Outlander. Like, okay, so
Yes.
like he took it for everybody around and was like, no, I'm just gonna like take it and you just do what you need to do. And now his like back is all disfigured from like the responsibility that he took on.
Yes.
Like it's just
yes.
And also like his father died at the same time that he got, just like Jamie's, you remember? And I was like, oh
this
my
is
God,
what I mean. This is what
exactly
I mean.
like Outlander. And I just
Copy
read that
paste.
book this year. Right?
Yeah.
No, it's just copy and paste.
Copy
Like
and paste.
seriously,
Okay,
there's just too much. And also when she describes Ryerson House, I immediately thought about the House of Wind.
Same. Like, this is Reese, House of Wind. Here we are. Yep, 100%. Okay, how about this one? Calling it now, Feyre, and Darna will have all 7 of the High Lord's power. Be the 7th dragon.
Oh my God. You called that? I had no idea that was coming. I did note it when she said that thing about Indarna looking a little purple. Do you remember like when she said that? It was like when Indarna was flying down, like the sun hit her in a certain way.
Yep.
And her scales looked a certain color.
She mentioned that she's mentioned things about her scales shimmering lots of times. And for me, I clued into it with the riddle. Again, a la ACOTAR. Solve this riddle and you shall reap the treasures. She kept saying the 6 and the 1, and then got all 6 of the dragons together and then wondered why it didn't work. And I literally kept screaming at the book, what about and the 1? And the 1.
See, I thought and the 1 was going to be Violet.
Oh.
I thought she was going to be the 1.
I was always thinking Indarna.
Another twist that I didn't see coming other than that was I did not see that twist that she wrote in with the dream. Immediately, the first time that I read the dream, I thought, okay, and I wrote this down in my notes, which I'm not even going to read it because I didn't add it to here because I was wrong, which was I thought that what was going to happen at the end was that Violet was going to put herself in a stupid situation by making a dumb decision like she always does to run off and do her own thing. And then she was going to get in trouble and that Xaden was going to have to turn Venom to save her. That's what I thought was going to happen for sure. But I definitely did not see the fact that that was actually Xaden's dream, that he was accidentally sending her through the bond, like while they were sleeping. So like all those dreams and nightmares she's having the whole book, it's not even her dreams. Those are Xaden's dreams. And then at the end, I was like, oh my God, that's a great twist. But also, we didn't get to see Xaden go through any of it.
I have a note about that, but also I did clue into that because of the hints that she kind of sprinkled in when towards the end when they're having the battle and they were like they're all waiting and they're like for what, and he's like for me, and I was like, oh, all them dreams.
Oh, I didn't get that. See, I did not see that coming at all. I thought for sure it was Violet because up until that point, I thought most of the things in that book, except for the jump scares, were pretty predictable.
Oh,
that was a great twist. I wasn't that shocked when Indarna ended up being the 1 or whatever. That wasn't too shocking. Like Yeah, I didn't see it coming, but it wasn't like, oh my goodness. I was like, oh, well, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
but when that happened, I was like, oh my God.
it was a good twist, and like it made sense because of the way that they are all bonded, for them to like accidentally slip into each other's headspaces. Again, making the point of the fact that they don't actually talk to each other, because if one time she would have said, I'm having these crazy nightmares, then he could have been like, oh
right?
shit,
Yeah.
that's my nightmare. Like, can you guys just ever talk about any one thing ever?
Yeah, because they are terrible at communication.
Terrible.
They're terrible at it.
And it's one of my biggest pet peeves, like the miscommunication trope. So, the miscommunication trope, when like so many issues could be immediately solved by having just one simple conversation, it makes me so mad. And I'm gonna go ahead and say right now,
they can communicate in so many different ways through so many different people, and you still have all this miscommunication.
Right, exactly. And you're in each other's heads. Like, there's no reason for this level of just like, ugh. I swear to gods, if Violet finds out that she's pregnant in the next book, I'm going to throw it out the window.
Now, oh, right? Because they haven't been drinking their tea or whatever they fucking do.
And the way that I called that he would turn venom, but also,
see, there's the Leo in you. You're a know-it-all. Leo's
it's not my fault that it's not my fault I know things.
Or I'll send you a TikTok and you'll be like, instead of just like liking it or like putting a smiley face or a laughy face, you'll be like, actually, I already saw this like last week, but thanks.
Sorry. Well, okay. Well, at least I respond to yours. You never even give the thing on mine whenever I send them.
Well, yeah, I'm a Gemini. We go away. We just no. It says that about Geminis, that we just disappear for like days at a time.
You don't want me to know,
or don't respond.
But do you actually even look at them that I send you?
Of course.
Then why don't you
Sometimes
just?
I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of the time I do, though, and I have been making a real effort to change that about myself. Have you not noticed?
I've noticed a little, yes.
Okay, all right. But it's noticeable. It's I'm getting better. I'm really bad at, honestly, I just get so caught up in my own tasks, in my own head, that I'll open it and I'll be like, oh man, I got to get back to this because I'm right in the middle of something. Or I'll be like, oh, I'll look at that in a little bit, and then I'll forget.
I mean, I do that too. I do that too.
Yeah. No, but I do it really bad. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes I even forget about whole conversations we've had. It just doesn't even, no, seriously, it just doesn't even, like, you'll be like.
So it's good that we're recording this.
Are you kidding? No, do you remember when I told you about Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
Yes. And I was like, bitch. I was like, I've been telling you about this movie forever.
Yeah, so here's the story. So I called Tiffany and I said, Tiffany, I saw the funniest movie I've ever seen. It's called Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and I freaking died laughing the whole time, and I loved it. And Tiffany literally said, bitch, are you fucking kidding me right now? And I was like, what? And she was like, are you joking? And I was like, no, it was good. And she was like, I have been recommending that movie to you
forever,
for like years. And like I literally completely deleted it from my brain. Just completely deleted all of those recommendations because I had no idea what she was talking about.
Every time, but like not just one time, every time. And I'm like, Lita, I know you will die. Like, this movie is hilarious. Like, this is so an us movie. You have to watch it. And you're like, okay.
I was like, I'm not gonna do that.
And I'm like, I hate you. You never watch stuff that I tell you to watch. And then when you were like, that was like one of the only times I've been genuinely like, I'm mad.
Like angry.
I'm like, are you all right? That's it. I quit.
Okay, like disclaimer, I do not remember things. Like I don't even remember things I've said. I don't remember. Because if I don't think that that information is super duper important, I just forget it.
My opinion isn't important to you. My
It's
recommendations
very
aren't important to you.
They are important to me, but I'm a little bit of a ditz. Just a little bit. Just a little bit spacey.
You
I
said
have
it,
a
not
lot
me.
going on. I have a lot
do.
going on in my brain at all times.
That is true.
Every time that I'm talking to someone, I'm thinking about 5 things, and I'm always creating things in my head and ideas, and I mean sometimes even my own children will talk to me and I won't respond for like 20 seconds. I'll be like, yes, and Olivia will be like, Mom, are you responding to what I said like a minute ago? And I'm like, yes. It should be like, oh my God, you're so bad at talking. Like, especially in person, I can be super awkward.
Nah, this is just how we do. It is just this like stream of consciousness situation where we're like, I had all these intentions to go systematically throughout the points of the book, and we're just like flip flopping, like, oh, and you remember this part? Remember this part? Okay,
Tiffany's
so
a planner.
well, that is true. I like to be organized, but the thing is that we are never organized together. Like it's just organized chaos where we're just like stream of consciousness, and y'all are just along for the ride. Sorry, and you're welcome. That's the fun. This is why you're here. This is why you're here.
If you can't, if you know what's going to happen next, it's no fun.
It's no fun. You know what we should do one day?
And that is also why that's a great segue to get back into our conversation, because you know who else likes to not know what happens next is people when dragons pop out of them, because pop out at them. When dragons in this book, they just pop out of everywhere. Rebecca Yarros loves to have dragons pop out of places, okay? She had them popping out of the cavern when they were doing the walk. The wyvern was like, chomp, right into a person. Jump scare, popping out of the cavern. And then she had them pop out of the wardstone. Hey, I'm here with the Jack Barlow over here. Where else did she have a freaking I know there was at least one more. She had a dragon pop out of something.
The Solus in the cave, like randomly.
Oh yeah. Hi. Hello. I'm a dragon. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Why doesn't Tarn just kill all the people or dragons who are blatantly trying to kill his rider?
Right?
Because first of all, doesn't I don't know, what do they call it? The High Council? I don't know, the fucking Dragon Masters. Oh, the the Imperium dragons, the people in charge of that shit, they like Tarn. I read it in Our Flame. They said that they like Tarn.
And he's the second most powerful dragon that they have.
Well, not only is he the second most powerful, the council likes him. Mm-hmm. They think that he's responsible, mature. I don't know. They like Tarn. And so obviously, if he's going to have to kill another dragon, even if they're going to have a hearing about it, if he has a good reason, like this dragon was trying to kill my rider and I took it out, I don't think that they would give a shit.
No, okay, and
obviously Basgiath doesn't give a shit about dragons killing riders or leadership or anybody they fucking want to. So why wouldn't he just take them out? Or Sorrengail. Yeah. Like they just why didn't they take out Solus or Varish? Or, don't give him another chance. Fuck them. You're dragons.
Right? Or do it somewhere secretly.
For looking at them. They kill people for looking at them the wrong way.
Right.
They blow
right. Okay, so how about this? The whole Solus thing. Okay. Number one, why? Why does Solus show up in the cave? Is it to get revenge on her because they killed Varish? But
I think
also,
so.
okay, but this is also like where it all falls apart because you're telling me that like how did he manage to follow and track them to a very randomly specific cave? Like Taryn was right there and they can smell other dragons and sense other dragons in the middle of nowhere with no one being aware of him, and he just managed to get inside the cave that they were gonna go into before they did and just happened to end up in the same cave as him. And you would also think that there would be dragon laws, like you were just saying, that I wrote down about killing other dragons' riders.
I know why.
Bad writing.
Because Rebecca likes to have dragons pop out of places. That's why.
This is what I mean. Like it's like some parts are so fun, but then if you think about them even a little bit, it falls apart.
It's like, hi, I'm a dragon.
Like,
That's
I need some
every
filler.
fucking
I need some filler. What can happen? Dragon.
It's every time.
Oh,
But
also,
I mean, like, it works, I guess. But geez, I feel like
but
this
it doesn't
is Five
when
Nights at Freddy's.
but it doesn't make sense though. So good.
Here's another thing that is like a loophole for me when it comes to Taryn. Not only why wouldn't he fucking kill all of you? Why not? Who's gonna oppose him? First of all,
Right.
you know, and second of all, why would that not stop you from acting like a complete fuck?
Right.
I mean,
That's
this
what I'm
dragon,
saying. Yes.
this dragon is like the way that she describes it, he's like 4 times the size of your dragon. Just by himself. And not only that, he's bonded to another extremely large fucking blue dragon that's very powerful. And there's a powerful signet holder on both ends. Okay? There's no dip in like the scales of power that the universe likes to do there. So why would you fuck with Violet when you know for a fact that Taryn is gonna fucking kill you? Like, he's terrifying. The way that she describes him is he's terrifying to even look at.
That so many times where I'm like, the second she bonded Taryn, you would think it would have given her a layer of protection.
Mm-hmm.
And it just didn't. And also, okay.
Maybe not for the humans, but definitely for the dragons.
Yeah.
I mean, and also, another thing that I want to bring up about dragons before you make your point, before I lose it, is that if Varish and what's the name of Varish's dragon? Solus? Okay, Varish and Solus, right? They're bonded.
Yeah.
And Varish is how old? He's in charge of the whole school now.
40s,
maybe 50s. Okay. So if he's 40s or 50s and he's been bonded with that dragon since he was fucking 18, 19, like even early 20s, and you're telling me that he's been bonded with Solus for all those years, 20 plus years, and when he dies, Solus lives.
Yes, I thought that exact same thing. You're 100% right. Yes.
Because they say in the book, the longer you're bonded with the dragon, the harder it is on the dragon. Like, Taryn is all freaked out all the time that everybody knows if anything happens to Violet, Taryn's dead because he can't take the loss of another writer. And they haven't even been bonded for a year. And he's worried about it. But Solus is bonded to Varish for 20 plus years and he gets killed and nothing happens to Solus.
Yep, I thought that same thing. You're totally right.
Like,
I did forget to write that down.
For him to be that strong, to be able to survive a bond that has existed for that long, just the way that the lore is written, basic.
Exactly. So many times in this book, I'm like, has she read her own book?
Yeah.
Also, okay.
So mean.
Well, can we talk about how Violet has the most useful power that she can never use until the exact right conditions are available because she's bad at her own signet? Like, right? But like, she's always like, but there's every chance I'll hit someone else on accident. So like, I can't wield in here. Like, you are the only, like, your power is the only useful thing about you at this point, and you can't even use it ever because you're like, I'm so bad at it that I could accidentally kill all my friends.
Oh yeah, I could accidentally kill everyone in this building.
So I can't even use my power. Here's the thing. Most useful power to have.
Here's the thing that makes me want to pull my hair out. Like, I understand, like, the conduit is necessary for when, you know, she's training or learning, but after she has, like, 2 sessions with Felix, you don't see her practicing or training for the entire remainder of the book. They're just going on weird, dangerous, life-threatening missions that have no relevance to what's actually happened, even though Venom can show up to kill everyone at any moment.
Anytime.
Literally
like,
any moment.
Why wouldn't that be like breakfast, lunch, dinner, your entire day just learning? This is like where you put in the training montage, like the Rocky training montage. Okay.
At this point, it's not about the squad. It's about if you don't know your shit, you can't take out at least 40 fern. You can't take out any wyvern unless you know what you're fucking doing, and we're relying on you to survive. But instead, let's go on a pointless, dangerous mission that gets you a pass to Hogsmeade.
Right. Like, why? What is the point? It won't be there if the Venom take over everything and get like Okay.
What do you mean? I wanted to get some every flavor beans. I'm getting that pass. I need some taffy. Like, what do you mean a pass?
This is what I mean. It's just like it.
You're not even in the military anymore.
And this is why the book, and this is why it's not cohesive, because it just borrows from a bunch of different books and they don't go together. They don't go together with the world that you've built. Also, are you okay, so when the Venom start attacking and we realize that Melgren and all the other valuable fighters are down in Samara, you're telling me that in a land of dragons who breathe fire, who are all under constant threat of danger at the borders, don't have a Beacons of Gondor situation in place to communicate long distances, like in an emergency situation? Like, dragons also can communicate telepathically with each other if they're within a certain range.
Maybe they rely on that.
But they have to be in a certain range. But they don't use that. That's never utilized to be like, hey, so y'all were wrong about the battle location. Could y'all like scooch back on up here? Like, you'd think that they'd have like beacon/telephone situation like at the outpost, like strategically placed throughout the lands. Just kind of feels like a no-brainer where you could like alert everyone
or something. Where's
Send
the crows?
Raven.
I mean,
you have dragons. Use them.
I said George R.R. Mutton. How's your mutton?
How's your mutton? Like, come on. Like, you have dragons who can fly and breathe fire. You don't have some, like, unbonded riders or unbonded dragons to, like, station, like, the beacons to be like, oh, shit's going down. I'm gonna light this one.
Well,
and then
I'm sure
that
there's something there. There has to be something for communication with. You're talking about military bases, but she didn't talk about it.
Right, but she didn't talk about, which would have been the most obvious point. Like, there's many points in this book where something like that could have been utilized, and I'm like, okay. I kept saying in the back, I was like, light the beacons. The beacons are lit.
It's like Mulan on the Great Wall.
Right, exactly.
Now all of China knows you're here. Yes.
This is either going to be a super long episode or we're going to have to like part 1, part 2 it, because we're almost at 4 hours.
Dude, I'm cool with doing 2 parts. Okay, I'm totally fine with that.
We will not have this many notes on most books. Like, this book was just so extra with the things that I needed to address.
We're going to take a potty break. And for you guys, this is the end of part 1.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sure
make sure
we're
you
going to have a part 2. We have so much more to go through and to cover. So we haven't even made it to our quotes yet, or our silly lines and our ratings and all that stuff. We're not even there yet. We're not even close.
Because I feel like people won't download a 5-hour episode, but maybe they will download 2 2-hour episodes.
2. Okay, so
please come back for part 2. You won't regret it. So refill your glasses, go to the bathroom, and then meet back up with us.